in this little section, for the most part, you can crimp all your wires with just your standard wire crimps. But here we're going to talk about bigger cables. So these bigger cables require a special tool if you're going to be smashing these things together, and it's just like it's just a lug crimp. So much bigger stuff, but you can get these things off of Amazon. You might be able to find this at Home Depot, but this is a big tool. If you can rent it at AutoZone or anything like that, try that out. But this is a good way to make your big cables. So this is just a piece of 4-gauge cable, and little pro tip, we'll use a 6-gauge cable lug for these guys, so it just fits a little bit better. If you use 4-gauge on 4-gauge, I feel like there's always a little bit extra. This fits very nicely inside of a 6-gauge. And then so if you're gonna be using 2-gauge wire, we use a 4-gauge lug. So that's a nice little trick to make everything look a little bit cleaner. So a lot of wire strippers won't have something that is big enough to strip these kind of wires, so we'll just use a pair of these, these wire cutters, and just like any other wire, just kind of chew around, work around in a circle so you're not trimming off a bunch of the copper wire on the inside, and then you have your raw exposed wire. And then one thing I like to do is test, make sure that it fits well and it's butted all the way up against your insulation right here. So you're basically ready to put this thing together. Also, this is just a short little strand of wire. I can pass this stuff right on in. If you're butting 2 wires together, make sure you get your insulation on first, so that way you're not having to cut your end off and put a new piece of insulation. And sometimes this heat shrink insulation stuff won't fit over your lugs, so before you put that on there, throw your heat shrink on, and then put this guy together. And then, like I said, nice and clean, get all the wires in there. This is a 6-gauge lug on 4, and I don't know if you can see, but it's just like the perfect fit. So a little bit snug, good connection. And then you get your cable lug right here, open that up, get towards the bottom of this guy, make sure you're nice and flush, it's all pressed in all the way, and then give this thing a good squeeze. And you can see this thing is really pressed in there, and then you're gonna wanna just like try and pull it apart. So, like that thing is on there. So if it slips right out, either adjust your crimp so it's on the right setting, or give it another go. But from there, you don't have to have a heat gun for this part. You can use a lighter or you can use a little torch, but heat guns work really, really well. Just turn the thing on high and heat shrink this guy up. And what this does is it seals up the raw wire on the inside to prevent any kind of corrosion and water getting into your connection point. So this stuff is important. Make sure you heat shrink all these things, get a nice good seal. And there you have it. This is just a nice little connected lug, and it's nice and sealed up from the water, and you can kind of see on the inside there's like a little adhesive. It's a glue, and it'll melt, and it'll kind of melt its way out. That's how you know it's nice and sealed. You'll see it on both sides. If you want to go one step further and loom all of your stuff, I like to get this loom, over the top of this. Get your loom to about there. And one little cool thing too, is you don't necessarily need to use red for positive and black for negative. You can use black for everything and color coordinate everything with your heat shrink to save yourself a little bit of money on wire. So this will be your identifier. So if you throw a bunch of loom on here, you can't really see what kind of wire it is. So say if you're running this on the outside of a vehicle and you need to protect this, throw your loom, get one more piece of heat shrink, throw this guy over the top, and then heat shrink it once more. So you're basically fixing the loom directly to the lug and to the wire. Heat guns are nice because the temperature is a little bit more controlled and you're not melting your loom. But there you have a very nice professional looking lug end and something where your wire is nice and protected by the loom. So if you need to run this out for, say, your ACR or your DC to DC charger that's coming from your alternator, this is a great way to protect your wire. And now this loom is stuck in place, and again, nice and protected. You won't be cutting any wires, but this is a beautiful way to put stuff on the outside of your van and keep stuff protected.